Hello, 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 beloveds. I am so very sad, honestly, that I'm not with you all today. Joanne is such a dear sister of mine, and I look forward to this every 6 months when she brings a group. And I was especially looking forward to thanking all of you from Minnesota for being so amazing, for standing in the gap, for teaching us in a real sense what it means to be nonviolent. I'm sure she has shared with you that my precious father-in-law passed away. He was 94 and a Holocaust survivor. And the first camp he was in was Auschwitz. And so when people talk about the Holocaust didn't exist, or when people talk about today, we have abandoned buildings here in Georgia that have reportedly been sold to ICE to use as concentration camps. So it continues to be, for many people, their mission and their intent is to use things for concentration camps when they would say, we don't have funding to give proper housing. And so constantly, when you're thinking about nonviolence, it is how are you being love-centered in the way that you're thinking and speaking, engaging and acting. And that's the definition of nonviolence. I'll get into that in just a minute. So it's a very sad reason that I'm not with you all today, but my heart is with you all today. And I just adore Joanne. I adore her activism. I adore the way that she is so intent on standing up for the least of these in all the ways that she does this. And, these tours are so life-giving. And so, Joanne, my prayer for you is that you continue to do these tours and do them at the pace that works for you. So if you can do them more often, my prayer is that people will rise up and say, yeah, we want to know more. And every single time you come, of course, I always want to see you. So anyway, okay, beloved. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of what to expect at the King Center once you get there. You will park in the parking lot behind Historic Ebenezer. And Historic Ebenezer is, it's on the corner of Auburn and Jackson. And there's an iconic blue sign, Ebenezer Baptist Church. And if I can find it, I will send Joanne the picture. But there's a very iconic picture of Coretta Scott King talking to Miss Christine King Ferris. And she's holding Dr. Bernice. Or maybe Dr. Bernice is standing beside her. But anyway, I'll look for that. But it's under that iconic blue sign. If it is available, you can go in, excuse me, and listen to a tour guide give a tour. Sometimes that's not available, but most of the time it is. So if you can go in Historic Ebenezer and hear a tour guide give a talk about Dr. King and his father, Daddy King, and his grandfather, Reverend Williams, they will also share with you that Dr. King was, of course, assassinated in 1968, and then his brother was assassinated his brother was found drowned in his swimming pool in 1969. His brother, who taught swimming lessons, who did not have any water in his lungs, it was ruled a drowning in the swimming pool. And then their mother, was shot and killed at the Oregon there in Historic Ebenezer. And a lot of people don't know that. And so the tour guide will tell you all about, again, Historic Ebenezer and a lot of backstory there. And then I suggest you leave Ebenezer, and when you come out of the front doors of Ebenezer, take a right, and then immediately on the right, you'll see the steps or the ramp to the King Center. The King Center is a nonprofit, and it is run by the King family. And so Historic Ebenezer, and then up beyond the King Center is the birth home. And then across the street from the King Center, adjacent to the current Ebenezer, you will see all of those, that Martin Luther King Visitor Center, and then the birth home and Historic Ebenezer are all National Park Service buildings. So once you're there at the King Center, go up the ramp, and along that wall, and Joanne will be able to show you if I'm not directing you, if this isn't making sense, along that wall are the 6 principles of nonviolence. And so be thinking about which of those 6 are the easiest for you to do and which of the 6 are the hardest for you to do. Right now, principle 5 is nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. You know, choosing love instead of hate is not, let's go bomb another country. Choosing love instead of hate is not determining this life is worth more than this life, and so we'll just take this life, or we'll destroy this country, or we understand. Choosing love instead of hate would say we understand that it is impossible to bomb our way to peace, that it is impossible to kill anyone on the planet in the hopes of then goodness is going to rise from that, because that's not the way it works. Ways and means, the way that we want to do things, the end that we want, the end has to be in the means. And so the way that we do things, if we are constantly perpetuating violence, then we are creating violence. We're not creating peace. And so it's being able to understand that and think about that. So you'll see the 6 principles. And then just beyond that, there's a little gate to the left, and you can go down, and in there is Mrs. King's memorial and prayer and meditation garden. And you'll see that gazebo at the end of that. If you want to stand there at the lectern, there are all these microphones, and those microphones actually work. They actually amplify your voice. And if you look up inside that gazebo, it says, "Women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, you must become its soul." So we thank you, Coretta Scott King, for being so amazing. And spend some time in the prayer meditation garden. And then when you leave there, as you're coming out of that exit and turning to the left, you will see there in the middle of the pool, you will see the resting place of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. And it is actually where they are entombed. And so a portion of the King Center is actually designated as a cemetery. So then, spend some time at the pool. I also love the verse from Amos, "Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." And in one of his discussions, Dr. King defines justice as love correcting everything that stands against love. So it is, in the words of Amos, let love correcting everything that stands against love roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. And even if you think about the 6th principle, that the universe is on the side of justice. So the universe is on the side of love correcting everything that stands against love. The power of agape love, unconditional love. The power of, even in my own personal business, when we talk about 8 billion people loving 8 billion people, this is what we want for our world, is 8 billion people to love 8 billion people. That understanding. So spend some time there at the pool. Then as you walk up closer to Freedom Hall over on the left, before you walk into the bookstore, over on the left is one of my favorite pictures of Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr. And it's them voting. Voting in this country, in every country that has the option to vote, is so incredibly important. How many people died? How many people were bloodied for our right to vote? And it must be a really important right, because there are a lot of people who are working really hard right now to take it away, to stifle it. And so seeing that iconic picture, it's one of my favorites. So the door right there beside the voting picture, it goes into the bookstore. I would probably recommend that y'all go there at the end. But you can, go in and see what they have there, or you can enter Freedom Hall from one of the other doors. Upstairs in Freedom Hall, if it's open, is a Gandhi exhibit and, of course, an exhibit from Dr. King and Mrs. King. So you can go up there and tour around there. And then when you come out, if you want to, so after you tour upstairs and you come out of Freedom Hall, you'll exit to the right, go past the picture of them at the ballot box. And then once you're there at Auburn, if you'll take a right and go up just half a block. So you'll cross over Boulevard And on the right-hand side, you'll see the first integrated fire station, and there's a monument there. Generally, that's not open. It's also a National Park Service. If it's open, that's a bonus, and y'all should go in. But even if it's not open, I think there's a plaque there that you can read about that. And then just a few steps up, there's the fire station, and I think just one house, and the second house up, it's like a creamy yellow with brown shutters. That's the birthplace. That's the birth home of Dr. King. So right next door, I think it's sort of a peachy color. Right next door is the original, let me say this. The original King Center was founded where the Kings lived in the home when Dr. Bernice was a child. And that was in Vine City. So that was where the King Center was born. And then the offices were moved to that peach building right beside the birth home before the building you just exited was all of that was created. And, you can see that some of the infrastructure needs a little TLC. And so they're at the King Center, they're renovating the birth home. And so, anything that you can do to give online to the King Center, not only for the physical footprint to maintain the physical King Center, but also to promote Kingian nonviolence around the world. So you see the fire station, you see that peach house. That was, so we have one of the trainers, Dr. Lily Baxter, when she was hired at the King Center, I think in the late 70s, that was her office, was there in that peach house. And then the birth home is right next door. So, and what I often do if I'm doing tours, I will encourage you to stand with your back to the birth home. And then look to your left and you'll see those one-story duplexes. And then look to your right and you'll see those other two-story homes. And Dr. King understood, even from his doorstep, economic inequality, that some people had more than others, even from his doorstep. And looking at who was living here and what were those conditions and what were these other conditions, and thinking about that. Thank you all for being so interested in the King Center and the philosophy and methodology of nonviolence. At the King Center, we define nonviolence as a love-centered way of thinking, speaking, acting, and engaging that leads to personal and then cultural and then societal transformation. So how are we thinking about things? What are we saying about it? How are we acting? How are we engaging with one another? And this nonviolence piece, it starts with us. So it leads to personal. So Elizabeth first needs to be changed, and then cultural, and then societal transformation. One of the things also that Joanne will often ask me to do is share a little bit about my personal story to nonviolence. And so all of you can see that I'm white. You hear in my voice that I'm Southern. And it is entirely possible to live in a white Southern bubble and never know anything about Dr. King. And that was my lived experience. So you're in downtown Atlanta right now. I grew up in Athens, Georgia, which is only about an hour and a half from where you are. I currently live in Swanee, which is about 45 minutes from where you are. And I didn't even know the King Center existed until 2018. I was 48 years old. Did not even know the King Center existed. The only thing I even knew about Dr. King up until that point was his I Have a Dream speech. And I had been doing what I call unlearning and relearning. And one of the first, probably the first book to make me really take notice was Dr. Cornel West's Race Matters. And there's a new edition out now, and I adore Dr. Cornel West. He's absolutely amazing. So I read Race Matters, and that started me thinking, yeah, my high school was 50% Black, but my college prep classes were not 50% Black. So that really just kind of planted some seeds. And then I was always taught explicitly and implicitly in high school, through family members, through culture, through college, even college professors in Georgia said to me that the Civil War was not fought over slavery, but over states' rights. And that the Confederate flag is not hate, but heritage. So I had believed this all this time. When my son was in 9th grade, he was studying U.S. history. And I said to him, Alexander, you know that the Civil War was not fought over slavery. It was fought over states' rights. And he looked at me and he goes, Mom, The state's rights to do what? And I thought, Now, God gave me the kind of brain that when some information comes in and it doesn't immediately click with everything else, then I don't immediately reject it. For a lot of people, they have that confirmation bias that's very, very strong. So if they get a piece of information that does not confirm everything else they already believe, then they immediately reject it. For me, that information came in and I thought, now if that's true, then what's untrue about all of this? And it really started a rapid unlearning process. And so I found the King Center on Twitter, attended my first ever 2-day orientation to Dr. King's methodology and philosophy in April of 2018. And I was immediately drawn in. I knew this was exactly where I needed to be. And I even heard, I am a Christ follower. I don't use the word Christian, particularly in the South, because that can mean a whole lot of different things. But I follow Yeshua. And I heard Yeshua say to me, at the King Center in 2018, you will spend the rest of your days teaching nonviolence around the world. But I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. I was still working full-time in higher ed, just had no idea. And so that was April of 2018. Did a lot of studying about Dr. King. Heard the 3 trainers there say, I study Dr. King every day. So I thought, well, if they need to study, then I need to study him every day. And so I commit to an hour a day, every day, of how am I going to study nonviolence, study the philosophy and methodology of Dr. King, study the power of love every single day. And so that was April of 2018. In August of 2018, I get an email from Dr. Bernice King, and it said, I'm asked to teach my father's philosophy around the world. I'm assembling a training team. Are you interested? And I thought, who says no to Dr. Bernice King? Yes, I am interested. I absolutely am interested. And so I show up. I don't know if she's asked 100 people or 1,000 people. Y'all, there are 10 of us. There are 10 certified trainers. Then we have 3 senior trainers, one of which was Dr. Baxter that I said was hired in the late 70s. Captain Alphen was hired in the 80s. And then we have Dr. West. And then Dr. Bernice King. 14 of us in the world are the current certified trainers of nonviolence. I am the only one of the 10 who is not African American. I hold that so humbly and so deeply. I'm just so honored by that. So now, because I'm not with you in person and I'm not able to give each one of you a hug and a smile, if you want my cell phone number, Joanne will give it to you. If you want to find me on social media, I'm on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. Just let me know that it's you on the tour, because I don't necessarily accept every friend request I get. So just let me know that it's you. Just text me and say, hey, this is me, and we'll connect there. If you've got more questions, then y'all reach out. Joanne, if after y'all go to the King Center, if maybe while you're, either in the airport or, 3 weeks from now, if y'all want to get together and ask some questions and then video them back to me, then I'll send you a video back, then that's fine. Or we can hop on a Zoom or whatever. Just know that I wish I was there with you all in person. And I thank you for your interest and your love and for being amazing. And y'all, every single one of you, those of you that feel comfortable, go up to Joanne and give her a fist bump or an elbow bump or a hug from me or something and just say, you are so loved and treasured. You are a treasure and we need you on this planet. Joanne, I love you. Thanks, y'all.